the CNN debut, ladies and gentlemen. Shouts out to Azan Pecker for chopping this up.
Welcome to The Whole Story. I'm Anderson Cooper. The spread of misinformation and conspiracy theories has flourished with the rise of online social platforms that cater to extremist views with little to no regard for what's true and what's not. CNN's Donie O'Sullivan has spent years talking to people who've fallen for these conspiracy theories. But tonight he's focusing on a group of people you probably haven't heard from. Young men who were once liberal Democrats but have changed their views in some pretty surprising ways, they say, after becoming disillusioned with politics.
It's Memorial Day weekend and I'm not at a barbecue or watching a parade. I'm in Michigan for one of the biggest gatherings of pro-Palestinian activists in the country. But someone who is not welcome here is a 24-year-old named Jackson Hinkle.
That's the funniest way to introduce this person, dude. I mean, listen, respect to Donie for at least like separating the pro-Palestinian movement from like Jackson Hinkle.
You're not prepared to admit that Israel's a terrorist organization.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
Kim Jong-un is a peace-seeking leader, despite what, the talking heads say. We're going to de-NATO-fy Ukraine, and we're going to de-Nazify you.
You just sound completely bonkers.
Jackson is holding another much smaller event for Gaza across town. What's your name?
Mirk.
Mirk?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. How are you? He and his followers call themselves MAGA communists. And that isn't supposed to be a joke.
Hey, so you guys always with Jackson and...
You're a journalist?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Do I not look like one?
The first journalist I ever met.
Dude, MAGA communism is so funny because it's just like a sea of contradictions, even beyond like the regular contradictions that normal Americans experience on a daily basis, like the median voter being both in favor of mass amnesty and also in favor of mass expulsion, mass deportation at the same exact time. And it's extra hilarious because, once again, communism or socialism or any kind of like Marxist thought is supposed to be entirely devoid of like weird culture war issues, spiritual, ideological problems that are oftentimes deployed by liberals as a mechanism of distraction, as a mechanism of division among the working class. So when you personally are like, I'm so f***ing left, dude, I love this shit, and then you turn around and jump on board an ideological movement that is entirely designed around these culture wars, that makes no sense. It is as oxymoronic as being a anarcho-capitalist. It makes no sense in its simplest terms, in its most reductive in the most reductive way to explain it. Anarchism is about abolishing unjustifiable hierarchies, undemocratic and unjustifiable hierarchies. Capitalism is built on top of an unjustifiable hierarchy. So you can't have both at the same time. The same principle goes for MAGA and communism. You can't be an advocate for a borderless, classless, moneyless society while simultaneously hyper-focusing on the other side of liberalism. That's all this is. These people are liberals through and through.
Among the suits, a Democrat turned MAGA communist in a Hawaiian tank top and flip-flops, who calls himself Charmhole.
Charmhole. Follow me on everything.
So that's your online name?
Yeah, my online name.
By the way, this dude is a real freak. Apparently, I did not know any of this shit, but apparently he was like very seriously trying to debate that like every person that has been circumcised is actually trans. And he got banned from our Discord in 2020 for like trying to constantly debate on that issue, and even went so far as to say that like my mods were transphobic for banning him. I didn't know any of this until recently. Like pretty much every MAGA communist is like, I think, a former HasanAbi head at a certain point that all just went, nah, f this guy. He believes in vaccines, or he won't let me debate on weird gross shit. And do you feel responsible? No, I don't feel responsible. For every random guy like this who is like a massive grifter and completely delusional, there are a ton of normal people in this community that have like went on to go and run for positions in local office, that have joined their community organizing efforts, that have become community leaders. Like, no, of course not. The difference is they're not as like well, these guys aren't telegenic either, but they're not as interesting from the media perspective. Why the fuck would there be an entire story about them? They're just normal people, right? This is the man that bites the dog and not the dog that bites the man.
So are you a MAGA communist?
Absolutely. MAGA communist. I used to hate Trump. I would call him old. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to cuss or say bad things.
No, you can cuss, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I used to call him a pedophile, illiterate retard, stuff like that, because I was a big Bernie bro, and I was like, I'll do anything for Bernie, anything, right? And that's why I love these guys, because they just assume you're smart. They're going to tell you all the smartest stuff, and if you don't get it, then you're just going to miss out on the next big thing, which hopefully is MAGA communism, or at least...
Why is he talking about this like as a trend, dude? I mean, this immediately demonstrates like his ambition, right? His own personal motivation for being on board with this is like he like caught something. Like he's talking about this like it's a shit coin, dude. God damn. There's a lot of dudes like this that just have like these are the crypto bros, okay, of political ideology, I guess. You see it.
America's form of communism.
MAGA communism.
MAGA communism.
You know, people watching CNN are going to say, you're crazy.
Absolutely, I would hope so.
This is great. It's good to be here. We actually have CNN in the building with us tonight. They're filming some propaganda documentary, which
The crowd here was mostly male and mostly white.
you know, today's event is called Free America to Free Palestine. Shout out to the AI gods for giving me this beautiful shot.
Dude, why are so many conservatives like such defenders of AI art? At this point, when I see AI art, immediately I'm like alarm bells are ringing in my mind. I'm like, you are an unserious person. It's just so weird. Look at the flag. Yeah, I know. He didn't even like do the appropriate thing. Like this is not even, the flag changes colors. It's like a different flag now. It's fine. The Cowboys don't have faces. Are they wearing keffiyehs? I can't tell. Also, the similarities between Israel and America are not ones that you should be making as someone who is pro-Palestine, because what is happening to the Palestinians is what happened to the indigenous population originally in the inception of this country that you are dick riding. So the idea that like one settler colony is good and the other settler colony is bad is an unsustainable and inherently contradictory position.
But Jackson had barely started speaking about Gaza
I've been to Russia. I've been to China. Their major cities are much nicer.
before he launched into pro-Russia and pro-China talking points.
Now, Russia's better and stronger than ever before.
Dude, dude, I can't speak for every single person that is like in this movement or whatever the fuck this would be called, but like he strikes me as such a fed dude. I'm sorry. This is such an untenable, unsustainable position. Like, how are you MAGA, but you're also pro-China? Like, how does that even make any sense? Nothing that this man says makes sense. He's like pro-America, posting photo AI art of Wild West cowboys, which immediately whitewashes the heinous crimes that the American state committed, okay, in an effort to build this state, while simultaneously shitting on currently and correctly the active war crimes, not dissimilar to what the American state originally did in Israel. He's also pro-Russia and pro-China, which also is like, you know, it just doesn't make sense with the MAGA position.
Strengthen our actual enemies. And I will just say once and for all, so Piers Morgan never has to ask me again, no, I do not condemn Hamas. Very simple.
Jackson's social media following skyrocketed after the October 7th attack on Israel.
Joe Biden is plunging us into a fascist state.
And he's a big fan of Vladimir Putin.
Most of what is said about Vladimir Putin in the mainstream press is just factually not true. We as communists want to unite with MAGA voters and finish the job of Donald Trump.
Like, that's so funny, man. I'm sorry. How can you be a person who is literally like, I hate Israel, Israel's the worst, and also simultaneously be like, and that's why we should vote for Donald Trump, who literally is somehow at the same level of dick riding in terms of Israel as Joe Biden is? He's praising Bashar for standing up to Israel, but also Trump, who gave the Golan Heights to Israel. That's what I mean. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Listen, I criticize China, but many people would consider me a China dick rider, right? But I still criticize China because there's like an inherent principle that I stand by, right? I think mass surveillance on an entire ethnic group of the population is unacceptable. I do. I think it's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. So it doesn't matter who does it. I will definitely criticize it. I will understand where that criticism is coming from if it's like the American State Department doing it, or if the American media is doing it, when it's like, it's kind of weird that you are acting like you give a shit about Muslims. Let's be real. But like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
My name's Jackson Hinkle.
Like a few years ago, Jackson was campaigning for progressive causes.
I was BLM originally. BLM has been co-opted by NATO, by the government.
And Adam, aka Charmhole, had changed as well. So you use
BLM has been co-opted by NATO? Like, I just don't understand. You could make an argument. You could be like, yeah, Black Lives Matter was immediately co-opted by mainstream Democrats and basically was dulled of its like revolutionary aspects instantly. What the is it? It's been co-opted by NATO. I mean, I got
be a big liberal. You used to be a big liberal.
Absolutely.
A big Democrat.
Yeah.
You were a Bernie bro?
Bernie bro, through and through.
All right, I need to see where you are terminally online.
Yeah. Clean up a little bit for you.
Thank you.
So what I've got is 2K.
Bro, this is the average HasanAbi hater setup. I'm sorry. This is straight up the average HasanAbi, former HasanAbi head, now turned HasanAbi hater build and also setup.
Like millions of other video gamers, Adam watches live streams on platforms like Twitch, where fellow gamers often talk politics. How many hours a day would you say you play up here?
A day. Play? Excuse me? This is work right now. This is research. I'm listening to Dan Bongino while also talking to you and playing Championship Rocket League. I'm God Gamer, all right? Remember that.
So how many hours a day are you God gaming?
I mean, it's a full-time job. So anywhere from 6 to 10 hours.
Wow.
It's hard to understand how disgusting politics is.
True. Politics is disgusting. So normally what I'll have is, I got Discord, everything loading up, Rumble. So I got Bongino, ex-Secret Service, telling me all about how Jill Biden and Coco Cam almost allowed.
Bro, I've always wondered who the sits around and watches Dan Bongino. It's this guy. Like, there are guys like this. That is scary, man. That is scary to think of, that there are just like a bunch of people who are like, can't wait to tune in to Dan Bongino today at Rumble. That's crazy, man.
Is there a Taco Bell here? I've never had a Taco Bell.
You've never had Taco Bell? There's nothing more American than Taco Bell.
Yeah, could I get 4 cheesy street chalupas?
I'm sorry, but we don't serve the street chalupas anymore.
Dang! That's okay. Nice. Yeah, just rip it open.
There's just something weird about his vibes too. I don't even know. Like, he's doing the soy face in real life. There's something real weird about this dude, man. And this is before we found out that he was, talking about how everyone that got a circumcision is trans. Donnie doesn't look at him like he looks at you. If I spent this much time with these guys, yeah, any normal human after that would be refreshing to hold a conversation with. These are the people created in the fires of Reddit, like Uruk-hai being forged in Mordor. Yeah, exactly. Charmhole, check his logs. I was banned from your Discord by your transphobic moderation. I was attempting to debate transsexual issues. They got mad. I'm such an epic debate lord. I was banned from your Discord by transphobic moderation. I was attempting to debate transsexual issues, and they got mad. I'm such an epic debate lord. At least he doesn't have the top of the hour danky shit that Jackson Hinkle had in his logs. Account created July 28, 2020. Following since July 28, 2020. Top of the hour, every hour, dankies.
You have to remember this. Communism is the Russian word for conservatism.
No, it's not.
What?
The next intersection, you want to take a left, or else we're just going to see a whole bunch of beans and corn.
You ever miss the bright lights of Bloomington?
No, not at all.
I feel like you view your time in Indiana in the city as kind of like a period of your life that's over now, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Campaign for Bernie,
You were dating.
No, he looked so normal, dude. What the happened to this guy? Dog, this right here should be an immediate indication that you got to switch up your life again, okay? Oh my God.
So wait, you're guessing you're just not a Harris fan.
She's a Zogbot.
What the fuck is a Zogbot?
You don't know what a Zogbot? All right, Zion.
Dude, I'm shocked that he stumped him with some deep 4chan lore right there. Zog is Zionist occupied government. It's a 4chan term. It's most commonly utilized by Nazis online. Don't use it, chat. I will ban you if you use it.
See, this is the thing, and this is probably what you're going to cut this all up into, is me being like a really bad, evil white man racist that, oh man, I just hate Democrats, I hate liberals, like, right, a bunch of commies, you know? And it's like, okay, one, I was just
Bro, you voluntarily deployed a David Duke style term just in the midst of a normal conversation with another human being. Your brain is broken, dog. You gotta literally just stop. You have to do like a train spotting style cleansing. Okay, you need to like just lock yourself in a room away from like online for at least a week, if not a month. You got to detox, hard reset. It's not working. Hit the gym, start working on yourself. Oh my Lord, dude. He is way too gone. I think everyone can be salvaged. Everyone can be saved, including this guy. He also needs to like be around humans, I think. It's kind of shocking. I didn't know Ohio was like this, but this is like they're at a fucking public basketball court in the middle of the goddamn day. Not a single person in sight. No wonder people are so goddamn alienated and their only experience with like other human beings is just online. I think one of the funniest aspects of this entire video is like what he is presenting himself as, like the optics, the way he looks and the way he acts is probably doing infinite more damage to MAGA communism than even the things he's saying. It's like I see a dude in flippy floppies in the middle of the day hitting a shot like that. I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Oh, nice. But so one thing you brought up, you had a spell in a mental health hospital. Do you take any meds?
They tried to get me on Zyprexa. It was like $280 a month.
Right.
I laughed at that. I was like, yeah, right.
If you could afford it, would you?
No. No, I just smoked weed instead.
I've been on antidepressants and stuff for about 12.
Is it antipsychotic? So instead of taking heavy antipsychotics that the doctor prescribed him, he literally smokes weed, which has a tendency to like, look, I'm not anti-weed by any means, but it's like, that is the one place where it's like danger. Probably smoking weed, I suspect is not going to be helpful if you have, you know, schizophrenic outbreaks. Dude is hitting the dress to impress pose right now and it's not working for him. Anyway, please unpause. Okay.
12 years now.
Oh my Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder you're so good at being true neutral. You got no emotions to mess with you. Hey, Donie, what's up today? How you feeling? Yes.
Probably grew up in a family like yours.
Yeah. Did the playground kids call you gay?
No, they call me fat though.
You were always this fat?
Yes.
That is so American, dude. There is nothing more American than being an objectively fatter person, looking at a person that is like not as fat as you are and going, damn, dog, you're fat. That's so funny. Dude, he is the perfect American. Dude, that's classic. It's like dudes that look like this, looking at a fat guy on TV dying of COVID and being like, oh, dude, he's dying because he's fat. I don't need the vaccines. Just looking at a guy and just being like, nah, he needs it, not me.
Yes. You can change. You get off those mood stabilizers, start throwing the b-ball.
Adam's use of homophobic, racist, and anti-Semitic slurs is something that he sees as quote-unquote edgy. You keep saying Zogbot.
I'm only using Zogbot because I've been listening to a lot of Nick Fuentes.
You're not a Nick Fuentes fan?
Not necessarily. I think that...
Because he's a white supremacist.
Well, think about it.
He's a white supremacist.
Okay. He's a white proponent.
He's an anti-Semite.
He's racefully white.
He's a white proponent? What are you saying, bro? He's just straight up a neo-Nazi. Like, what the... By the way, I know another guy who used to say that too. His name, Stefan Bonnell Bonercelli. He used to ban members of his own community, as a matter of fact, for pointing this out. Yeah, by the way, absolutely. This guy is the consequence of not having Medicare for all, 100%. I stand firmly committed to the position that I maintain that Medicare for all would solve a lot of these issues, okay? Straight up. It's not going to solve all the issues in American society, but it would genuinely solve a big amount of issues. A tremendous number of problems.
We left Adam to travel to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, where we were about to meet one of his former Twitch heroes, Hasan Piker.
What is going on with this, bro? Chicago put some crazy shit on their dogs.
This year's DNC was the first where creators or influencers were treated the same as the mainstream press. One of the biggest stars in the new world of news consumption is Hasan Piker.
I'll put this in the trunk too. How are you letting this guy drive?
How do you explain what it is you do?
I have a pretty easy explanation for people that are older. I basically do what Rush Limbaugh used to do, right? But online instead of on radio. And also, I don't have brainworms.
This game is woke. They cut out the part where I said brainworms, both literally and figuratively. And also a crippling painkiller addiction. I knew it though. I knew that they were going to cut out a bunch of the stuff that I said because I was saying a lot. Okay.
Hasan has almost 3 million followers on the video game streaming platform Twitch.
I'm talking for 8 to 10 hours every day.
8 to 10 hours a day?
Yeah.
By the way, this is how you can spot a motherfucker who's a foreigner, okay? You see that? Y'all don't have this shit, right? I don't think Americans have this. The vaccine injury.
8 to 10 hours every day.
Older generations do?
Yeah.
Where he streams live almost all day watching the news.
The former president was found guilty of all 34 felony counts teen election.
And playing video games.
How do we fight again? I totally forgot.
Sometimes playing a character named after me. He even tries to do an Irish accent.
My name is Donie O'Sullivan, sir.
I'm fascinated with Republicans, and I obviously...
No! Your parents saw me do the Donie O'Sullivan accent. Oh, no. Oh, damn, Donie, what did you do? Oh, hell no. Oh, my God. I'm cooked, brother. I am cooked.
You always loved the hits that you would do when you go to these rallies and you talk to them.
Before we get out, people might confuse us.
Yeah.
You're 6'4", built like myself. Are you a Harris supporter?
I wouldn't say I'm a Harris supporter.
You'll vote for her?
Maybe. We'll see. I get a lot of criticism from the Democratic Party loyalists regardless.
Yeah.
Hasan was about to try and live stream all day from the DNC.
Pray to God that the internet is stable. Wait, this is my permanent space? This is fire. I mean, this is cool, and it's much cooler than I anticipated.
I can see CNN from here. Anderson! There's a restraining order. So this is in your rider?
That would not be in my rider.
Protein. We need more protein in here.
It would feature Core Power Elite. 42 grams of protein, 230 calories.
Sick!
On the face of it, Hasan is a bro. One of these so-called masculine men that Jackson and Charmhold revere and aspire to be.
Do you know about this MAGA communism?
Yes, Jackson Hinkle being one of them. He was like a Bernie bro, I think, back in the day. I'm like, I don't know anything about the guy.
You were a Bernie guy. You were a Bernie bro?
Yeah, I like Bernie a lot, yeah.
But Hasan says his brand of masculinity is very, very different to Jackson's.
Hitler, at the end of the war, he killed himself. He's a faggot.
Like, how does this happen? Where you are to the right of Adolf Hitler?
What is it about some of these guys that has made them go from far left to far right?
Like every young man in a certain point of their lives have like had some kind of insecurity, whether it be about their sexuality or whether it be about like their future prospects or whatever. And I think that like a lot of these guys take advantage of that and present this false narrative that like in order to be a man you got to be like homophobic. It's like, no, a real man is going to want to protect people who are marginalized.
It really is getting intertwined more and more with politics, where a lot of young men who are disillusioned for whatever reason, they don't have a girlfriend, they don't have a job, and they have people telling them, wait, this is not your fault. And to some extent, it's a societal issue, of course, but here specifically is who to blame, in a way that can have profound impacts for our society and our politics.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct, which is why I always advocate to fix the underlying material inequalities that creates a perfect opportunity for these kind of guys to be radicalized in this way.
The DNC had given Hasan a nice setup.
Whoa, I just dropped 0. What is happening?
But didn't give the Twitch streamer the thing he needed most, a working internet connection.
It's completely gone. The internet is completely gone. They shut it off.
With the great Patti LaBelle rehearsing behind him,
what the
we left Hasan to figure out his technical difficulties. Jackson Hinkle didn't make it to Chicago for the convention this summer, but he had made multiple trips to Russia.
Now I'm in Vladivostok. I'm safe for the time being.
I wanted to find out who Jack.
This is why I'm saying, like, something about this smells weird, bro. You go to Russia and you cut pro-Russian propaganda, okay, and you're not like Tucker Carlson, right? And beyond that, you go to Venezuela, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, I'm not equating Venezuela to Russia at all, but like, it is wild that he is going to all of these places and does not get even any scrutiny from the federal government. Very interesting, very strange. Because let's be real, I don't talk about a lot of stuff, but, you know, usually when you even speak on these issues from the perspective that you speak on, you will maybe sometimes have brush-ins with federal law enforcement agencies. The fact that he's able to just like travel around like this with no sanctions, like he's in violation of sanctions, he's like getting no scrutiny whatsoever, feels a little Fed-like to me. There are Americans living on America's soil, Russian Americans, who can't go and visit their family members. And this guy just keeps traveling in and out of Russia freely. A little odd. Just saying, a little odd. But also, if he's a Fed, why would Russia allow him in? I don't know. I mean, they allowed Tucker Carlson in. They let Tucker Carlson in. I'm an idiot. Would explain our purpose he plays as a Fed. What purpose does he play as a Fed? He gets insider access because he's like supposedly a sanctioned propagandist for America's enemies. What do you mean? Like, that's huge. He's doing Zoom calls with Ansar Allah. It also, in the American front, it also completely delegitimizes any kind of like real leftist momentum. He gets to have direct insight into whatever like supposedly socialist splinter that he's a part of. The American State Department will work with anyone. They'll even work with like real socialists from time to time. You know what I mean? It's about advancing a cause. And the American government has worked with splinter socialist movements, like, for example, Larishites. Yeah, I mean, they work with the Kurdish revolutionary groups in Rojava, Brace Belden. Think about that. Like getting trained by American trainers in Rojava as a anti-ISIS fighting force. That's a thing that happens. But who knows? I'm not saying that he is. I'm simply saying that he gets to do a bunch of stuff that I feel like if other people tried to do, they would get a visit. They would face restrictions, if that makes sense.
Josh Green was friends with Jackson all throughout their teens.
We were some of the few liberal students in our entire school. We had a very conservative student body.
Josh and Jackson campaigned for liberal causes together.
And so,
have you ever been approached by any governments? Yes, I have. Famously, there is one country that I don't really go back to. It wasn't a positive approach by a government.
So we would often be
but a negative one.
You are, in some ways, the quintessential American man, right? You're surfer guy, California. So for the Russians or the Chinese to have somebody like you to go over there and basically shit all over America.
No shitting on America. I love this country. I love the people. I just want it to be better.
Is there not a way to do that without having to fly back and forth to Moscow and seem to be embracing authoritarian regimes?
Well, they're far less authoritarian than the United States.
Come on, man.
Ultimately,
you'd come
like that. Oh my god. Oh my god. First of all, the very fact that you can travel, even if you're not a Fed, the very fact that you are traveling in and out, like, America gets to be not authoritarian seemingly on its face because it's the dominant hegemonic superpower. That's the correct argument. America has some semblance of free speech, which we are genuinely experiencing a noticeable decline in said free speech, for the record. You know, free speech, as long as you're not, you know, criticizing or hurting Israel's feelings. But in terms of like authoritarian, like things that governments do that are inherently authoritarian, some governments have to do that as a direct consequence of like assuming defensive posture. But many governments do it because they don't have that level of power that the United States has. And the less power that America has at the global stage, the more you will see America adopt more and more authoritarian positions, taking away civil liberties. In terms of foreign policy, yes, America is a force of evil around the world, for sure. But you can't turn around and be like, but Russia is like better or Russia is good. They're not. Russia is also incredibly authoritarian in ways that are even more overt than American authoritarianism. Okay, that's number one. And number two, Russia is doing America in Ukraine as a regional superpower. Trump is live talking with purple hair. He's gone full lib. What are you guys talking about, man? What the f? do you mean he's got purple?
And we are going to, and you know, when you do that.
Y'all are so dumb,
So
dude.
the #1 rated country is Norway.
Y'all are so dumb. It's just bisexual lighting, dude. He is zesty. He is bi. You know this already. It's called bi visibility, sweetie. Look it up.
Jackson describes himself as a communist, right? Why? Because he smoked a lot of weed and read Karl Marx. He's the biggest fucking capitalist I've ever seen. I'm so disappointed in what's happened to Jackson. He had this.
Oh my God. I just thought about that. Why does nobody ever shit on him for, like, I don't know, expensive purchases or whatever, like constantly pocket watching him? I thought he was a commie. That's weird, man. Yo, all it takes is for you to slap on the MAGA sticker and people are like, nah, dog, you can have whatever you want, okay?
Have you heard of somebody called Jackson Hinkle?
Yes.
What do you think about him?
Not my politics at all.
Jackson had been condemned and disavowed by established pro-Palestinian activists.
People see our cause because he's a charlatan, because Palestine is at the heart of intersectionality. It touches on all of the immediate aspects of American dominance, American culture of dominance, American imperialism, American violence, and American fascism that is also applied domestically upon marginalized communities. For someone who's like running around being like, oh yeah, I hate transgenders, that's like a really important part of my politics. Like, Sam Piker is allowed to have a nice home. Jimmy Dore is allowed to have a nice home. Marxism does not oppose wealth. It opposes exploitation and profits. Let's focus on the real issues. Sam Piker is just Adolf Hitler with painted fingernails. Banned. So desperate for viewers, you're leeching off the HasanAbi Discord. Don't quit your day job, brother. Sadly, he did quit his day job.
We're quiet.
Oh, wow. This is a great setup. And where's CNN from here?
He shaved his mustache in an effort to be incognito.
Back at the DNC.
Dude, I have a better location than Jake Tapper. You should tell Jake that.
Hasan had finally got some working internet.
You are the news now.
I think most people who are like not exactly fans of my perspective are still like, well, that's a famous guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hasan streams live on Twitch pretty much everywhere he goes, even when he's grabbing lunch. He's not a Jackson Hinkle fan and actively calls out the kind of hate Jackson spreads. But
I will say this. There are a lot of people that are on the payroll of the American government, or at least working at the behest of the American military-industrial complex, that say a metric ton of propaganda that is never considered propaganda in that same vein as what Jackson Hinkle is doing. Now, I don't even know what his background is in terms of like if he's getting funded by foreign governments or whatnot.
for all his chauvinism and misinformation, Jackson is speaking to a different understanding of America.
COVID changed the world. There was a radical.
Yeah, like I was talking about, like the American Enterprise Institute. Like, there's that one Syrian dude who like works for the American Enterprise Institute, and he's like, or like Oz Katerji or whatever, the Lebanese journalist, right? Who's like, Israel has to destroy Lebanon. Like, all of those guys, like, they all get their bread buttered, but because they are ostensibly on the side of American dominance, American imperialism, they're never seen as like ops. They're never seen as like weird. You know what I mean? Because their position is not all that different from, I would say, you know, Anderson Cooper or Jake Tapper. So it doesn't read in the same way that like Jackson Hinkle is actually doing propaganda for a foreign nation. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand the point I'm making here? I have smoke for those guys as well. That's my difference, at least from where I'm standing. Those dudes are also doing propaganda. It's just pro-American propaganda. And when it's pro-American propaganda, that doesn't read as propaganda. That reads as like normal news. Like, what? These are trusted news resources. Like that other Lebanese guy who went on CNN immediately after Israel's terror attack in Lebanon, where they exploded the pagers, and was like, this is a wonderful operation. That dude works for the Middle Eastern Institute, and he was basically outflanking Benjamin Netanyahu before Benjamin Netanyahu even made a statement. And he said the exact same thing that Benjamin Netanyahu inevitably said. Oh, Israel is doing this wonderful operation, which is a feat of impressive tech, because they want to decouple Hezbollah from Gaza. They want to show Hezbollah that there are consequences for trying to defend Gaza. That guy is an op, he's getting paid.
Radicalization on the right when it came to lockdowns, when it came to masks.
Yeah.
What about on the other side?
The American project hinges on being able to afford your treats. The moment that your access to your treats that are affordable are restricted, everything will fall apart. Society collapses. Because then you're like, well, what the am I doing this for? I have a shit-ass job, no future prospects, barely can make payments, but at least I can go to Applebee's and get $5 jalapeno poppers,
right?
Okay, and hang out with the boys and slam a couple brews, watch some football. COVID broke that a little bit. All of a sudden, everyone was like, well, okay, what's the whole purpose of this then? If I can't have my treats. I think that was like the breaking point for a lot of people.
Jackson Hinkle, 8 years ago, was like a Bernie kid. Now he's hanging out at the Kremlin, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I made a conscious decision to be true to myself and say jalapeno poppers.
How does that happen?
I don't think his political compass is very well aligned.
Joshua Frank is the editor of Counterpunch, one of the best-known left-wing magazines in the world.
I certainly don't think he's on the left. I don't know what a mega communist actually.
That right there, by the way, good magazine. Okay, let me tell you, it's kind of shocking to see Counterpunch on CNN being displayed as also a as like a reliable, sane outlet that is on the left is kind of cool to see. I never really would have thought I would be presented in that way, and I never really would have thought Counterpunch especially would be presented that way. Counterpunch even more shocking than me, to be honest.
I think a lot of the younger generation, they have a different perspective of U.S. history of colonialization. They're further away from World War II and that narrative. They're skeptical of what the government's telling them to believe, especially when they're seeing an alternative in their social media feeds. But that's also where it can get kind of dangerous, because you do have to have some sense of media literacy.
Yeah, because it's one thing having a healthy skepticism of any media outlet, really, right? And any narrative that's being pushed. But on the other hand, what you have is people totally abandoning journalism, getting their news from somebody like Jackson Hinkle.
If you or a loved one has ever...
It's not Counterpoint, it's Counterpunch. Counterpunch is a like an old school leftist magazine. It's been around for quite some time.
Jackson is a Russian propaganda dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, whether he's doing it and he's on a payroll or not, they're getting a great bargain, right? I mean, if the guy was actually on the left, he would talk about the press in Russia and the crackdown on the free press. They would talk about these things, but they don't, right? And why is that? It raises some flags for me.
Or even like the invasion of Ukraine. Like, that is just completely unjustifiable. There is no rhyme or reason. Like, there is no leftist justification for such a thing. It's just, you are deliberately invading a sovereign state. It doesn't matter. Like, all of the Z-pushing arguments that I have dealt with in this community in terms of like, well, what about Donbass? What about Eastern Ukraine, where there are a lot of like, ethnic Russians or people who are being bombed by their own Ukrainian government for years and years. 14,000 people died. It's like, okay, Russia invading Ukraine killed more people. If your goal is to stop people being bombed, right? So what, is it okay if like Russia bombs them instead? I think ultimately, regardless of Western intervention in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine was completely unjustifiable. And that's it. Like, there is a couple points that I hear all the time, right? The de-Russification of Eastern Ukraine. What Russia has done has been significantly worse in Eastern Ukraine and across the board. Or when people talk about denazification, again, there is no righteous cause for this. And also, you end up Nazifying the country regardless, especially when nationalists are the first line of defense in this situation. And now they're going to become even more hyper-nationalistic, something that I ironically talked about the day of the invasion. And NATO expansion is the final aspect of the argument, which is, oh, well, NATO was expanding into Russia's backyard. While I understand NATO expansion as a reasonable realpolitik fear from a regional actor, Russia's invasion of Ukraine literally calcified NATO's prominence in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. It gave an opportunity for Finland and Sweden to also join NATO. It was one of the fattest gifts that Vladimir Putin could ever give to Western contractors, to the military industrial complex in the United States of America, to those who want to build arms in Germany, in the UK. That was a gift. That's why I always say, look, in terms of foreign policy, if you want to do it right, and I have disagreements with Chinese foreign policy as well, but like look at the way China operates and then look at the way Russia operates. If you secure trade and make yourself an irreplaceable factor in the global marketplace, as Putin certainly had the capacity to do so, then you make it so much harder to like actively go to war with you and completely deny trade. When you get goaded into and inevitably end up advancing on a sovereign nation and lend credence to a lot of the fears that everyone in Europe has in terms of like a Russian invasion, you literally, you did it. You gave all of the excuses to your enemies.
When I next spoke to Jackson, he was back in Russia. The Kremlin had organized to bring him to parts of Ukraine it had illegally invaded.
Are they brainwashing you?
No, I think the only people who are being brainwashed are the people paid by the military-industrial complex.
Like this right here is gross. Absolutely gross and completely unacceptable. It's gross when Destiny does it, when he goes to Israel and dick rides Israel. It's gross when Jackson Hinkledink goes to Russia and dick rides Russia. There is no difference. That's the position I'm on. Like, that's gross as dude. Imagine sitting on top of like occupied territories and being like, this shit is sick. I'm vlogging here. Like, get the out of here. And Destiny did that shit too. It's disgusting. It's just incomprehensible evil shit.
Complex to spout certain views.
You haven't gone kind of full Tucker Carlson yet, though. You haven't gone to a supermarket and started sniffing bread.
Oh, come on. And coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil, it will radicalize you against our leaders. That's how I feel anyway, radicalized.
Jackson denies taking money from the Russian government.
You're a guest, basically, of the Russian Foreign Ministry, right?
There's multiple private and public individuals that I think are supporting my efforts to see the country and you know, showing me the truth about Russia. I pay for my travels.
Yeah, bro, not just Russia, but occupied territory in Ukraine. Yeah, that's like extra crazy, bro. You didn't even just go to Moscow. Even Tucker didn't go to occupied territories in Ukraine. Like that is weird.
But in an election year like this, a lot of things get warped.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
We've heard from a number of constituents on the ground, Caitlin, who both firsthand and secondhand reports saying this stuff is happening.
If someone calls your office and says they saw Bigfoot, that doesn't mean...
This was a banger, dude. I hate to give it to daily callers Caitlin Collins, but like that was an insane banger, dude. That was holy shit. That was such a good line.
They saw Bigfoot.
She cooked
JD Vance says, I spend a lot of my time talking to Trump supporters, trying to understand the rabbit holes people go down. On your stream, you have a bit of fun with it sometimes. I think you also refer sometimes to Trump supporters as hogs. So you're not going to take the vaccine?
Absolutely not.
What if Trump came out and said, please take this vaccine?
No, I don't believe he'll take it.
Yeah, well, he did, idiot.
But you must feel some empathy.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Good clip. How the f did he find that? That's crazy. They pull some choice clips.
At times, some sympathy.
Oh, yeah.
Some people genuinely believe this stuff.
I do ultimately still want to change the minds of people. I don't necessarily fault individuals for going down this rabbit hole because I understand that we're all, in some ways, victim to propaganda. We cannot escape propaganda.
Rachel Maddow, she's broke my heart. Rachel, I thought you'd tell me the story.
More and more of us have people we love, our family, our friends, falling down rabbit holes. Rabbit holes that stoke fear and promote hate. rabbit holes that can transform people from who they used to be, and rabbit holes that can even take them into war zones at the other side of the world. Are you being followed by like the Russian security services, or for that matter, the CIA? I mean, surely the American government knows that you're there.
Well, I think if the CIA or the Russian intelligence is doing their job properly, I wouldn't know, and I don't know.
Okay, well, bring me back a fridge magnet or something, will you?
I've actually got a special gift for you. No, you'll like it, I promise.
What the f? That was fire. Shouts out to Donie O'Sullivan, Misinformation, The Lost Left on CNN. Fire, absolute banger. HasanAbi greatest moments on CNN was not on my 2024 prediction list. Year of vindication. Yeah, it wasn't on my list either. I mean, that's like two back-to-back very that's two back-to-back very positive media hits from NBC and CNN, which is unexpected and fire and welcomed, you know? I'll take it. They put me and the Counterpunch guy on there to be like, here are some sane and reasonable left voices that are also working aggressively in pursuit of the truth, that are speaking out against dangerous misinformation, right? And that's understandable. That is my goal.